This podcast is rated ES for extremely silly and may contain bad words, bad jokes, and other bad content that is not suitable for children. Or maybe it is. We don't know. We're not their parents. You're listening to the Starforge Podcast with Scya and Mal, two nerds who have a lot to say about Star Wars: The Old Republic and all its features. Rest assured, the podcast is working as intended. This is Episode 10. We made it! We made it! Hello, SWTOR players. I am Mal.
And I'm Scya.
And we are so happy you're here on this, our 10th episode of the Starforge Podcast.
Congratulations to us.
Yeah, because Scya always tells me, talk to me when you do X. Don't talk to me until you do Y. And for podcasts, she says, I always tell people, you want to do a podcast? Well, talk to me when you hit 10 episodes. We're at 10 episodes. And now, Scya, you have to talk to me.
I absolutely do. You're a real-life podcast, Mal. And it's a pretty funny indicator that this advice will come bite me in my own butt. Often I give people advice when they're starting new content, what they should be shooting for, and when they can say they're going to actually stick with something. And I've told multiple people, if you want to run a podcast, I'll take you seriously once you've hit your 10th episode, whenever that might be. And hey, here we are.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to be here with you doing this. It's really been a lot of fun. I'm not sure what I expected when I said yes to this, but here we are.
This is definitely not exactly what I envisioned when I was first thinking, yes, I would like to start a podcast, please. But it's been a tremendous amount of fun. I like goofing off with you every week.
So, I don't know. Do you want me to tell the people what goes into this?
Yes, I noticed when we were setting up our episode, you said, let's talk a little about making a podcast. I did want to give a huge shout out to another podcast that's been making it for 10 whole years. The Ootinicast Podcast, the longest running Star Wars: The Old Republic podcast, is reaching its 10th anniversary. So if you really want to learn how to make a podcast, you should listen to these guys. They've actually got a special episode where they go through in about 43 minutes the start and growth of their podcast. Ours is only 10 episodes long, but we have an interesting factor of having Mal on our team, who is actually a professional voice actor, as well as editing her own audio on a regular basis. So Mal, what does go into the basics of making this podcast? Because you do most of the work. I just show up and talk to you.
That's right. Not to sound like a bitch, but I'd like people to know that, because sometimes we put these out and everyone's like, Swtorista, great job. It sounds great. Oh my God, editing's so good. It sounds so fresh and clear. God damn it, you famous person.
Don't worry, I always give you credit. It's Mal every time.
So the first episode was the hardest to set up because it's just finding what's the best way to edit to people, because I am so used to editing myself. I can just go through bloop, 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 and it's all done. So I had to take some time. It actually took me too long to realize setting up just like a template session with all our intro files and all the music that we need, that would be the fastest way, and then to plug both of us in. So mostly what we do is we record on Monday night. It's 11 p.m. my time. Usually I've just gotten out of a 3-hour raid. And we lay down the audio. Scya sends it to me on Google Drive. And then tomorrow morning, I'll plug it into Adobe Audition. That is my DAW. In Multitrack. And I get my little cutting tool and I start cutting it down for spacing. And while I'm doing that, I'm cutting it down for content. Usually that's where I'm able to grab a couple really hilarious outtakes. At the end of the year, you guys are going to get a really big surprise. I have amassed this whole plethora of outtakes.
Oh, no.
Of the two of us. It is going to be our happy, merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, solstice present to all of you listeners out there. After I cut it for content and spacing, I mix both of us down for editing out weird breaths, nasty clicks or pops. You know, the cat came in. Hell. Mr. Swtorista came home and had to be shooed out of the room. Clicks, pops, mouth noises, all of that good stuff. Take all of that stuff out. And then I add the dynamics processing, which gives a richness to all of our voices and makes it sound more podcasty.
And all of this editing is above and way beyond anything that I do for my videos. For my videos, I focus a lot on just getting the content out there and making sure you guys can hear me. I don't care too much about the rest. I asked Mal one time, like, give me an estimate of how long it took you to edit this episode, and she'll tell me anywhere between 4 to 8 hours each week she spends on editing these. It's obviously going to get faster and faster each time she does it, or worse, depending on the day if we make a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. But the editing process is intense to get a very good sounding audio podcast.
And I would just like to give a huge shout out to Scya because every time we do this, she is easier and easier to edit. It just gets better and better. And I am so excited to see how much she's grown in just these 10 episodes. And I just love it.
I've got a big grin on my face. I had a lot to learn. I'm so used to recording by myself, and nobody cares if I make mistakes or haven't quite learned how to record audio. But don't let this scare you off from starting your own podcast. Starting a podcast is probably the second easiest type of content to start. You maybe don't need to shoot for a professional voice actor editing and recording, but you can get into your own podcast making pretty easily and pretty cheaply. All you need is a microphone and the free program called Audacity, and you're on your way. But if you want to go full scale, what else do you need to do to your podcast, Mal?
Write jokes for it. What's correct? I was dead at the time. It's not my fault.
The answer I was looking for was I interrupted you when you said you were adding something rich volume.
Oh, I was going to say dynamics processing. And after that, Scya uploads all of it to like 100 different websites and all kinds of places that I don't, she told me them and the passwords. And God, I hope she lives forever because if I had to do it, I don't know, I'd have to mail you guys CDs or something because I'm old.
Luckily, I use an automated service called Buzzsprout. This podcast is not sponsored by because we have to actually pay for it. But it's a service that helps us get it out to places like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and as well as uploading it to YouTube manually. Normally, when you create a podcast, you want to get it to as many services as possible. And there's different services you can use to help syndicate it to those different platforms more easily, which we set up before we started the podcast. I did a bunch of research. How can we get it out there and how can we automate as much as possible? So now we got to get you in Star Wars The Old Republic in a background character for sure.
One day I can disappoint them with my voiceover skills. Just kidding, they'll be wowed. But, that reminds me.
Not just in person, in group.
But that does remind me of, how disappointed we can be by other people in group content, especially when they trot out characters they have no fucking idea how to play. Disappointing other people.
All right, today on Disappointing Other People, we're going to be talking about playing effectively versus playing what you like. We're going to talk about playing effectively in flashpoints and operations. And Mal, when you play those, do you play your most effective class or do you play whatever you feel like playing that day?
I usually play whatever I feel like playing, or I play whatever I need to get conquest done on, if that's the goal. I'm pretty much proficient on just about every spec in the game with just a couple exceptions. So, if a person is new or they're trying out a class for the first time, vet, story mode ops, probably best for that, I can roll into hard mode with just about anything and be fine. If I'm doing nightmare, no, then I bring my best classes. That's only a couple that are that are the best, that are good enough for nightmare. But for hard modes and story modes and flashpoints, I take whatever. How about you?
I pretty much never, especially lately, bring my most effective characters, my most effective classes, the ones I actually know how to play. I found really in story mode operations and veteran mode, flashpoints, I just play whatever character I want to achieve whatever goals I have in mind that day. Usually it's conquest, but it could be other things like I'm working on renown right now, but that's about to go away. I play whatever character I need that I want for the day because I found the team can succeed just fine, even if I'm on my Jedi Knight, where I barely know how to press 3 different keys, it does not seem to matter. It may take a couple milliseconds longer to actually kill those enemies, but it doesn't seem to affect whether we'll actually complete the operation or the veteran mode flashpoint. However, where I differ from Mal is when it comes to that harder content, maybe master mode flashpoints for me or veteran and master mode content. I only have a very small number of characters that I actually know how to play, and I really only have one character, maybe two in a pinch when it comes to master mode operations. So I do have a big question about that, not necessarily about what you like to play, but should you have to play effectively in group content? Like, should you absolutely choose your best character?
Well, it depends. Do you want to wipe all night or do you want to win? What's your goal?
I want to wipe all day, all night, oh baby.
All right. Then you bring whatever you want. You bring your undergeared, underleveled sentinel. That's what I'm bringing.
Perfect. That's exactly what mine is too.
I can't play a sentinel.
But what if I actually want to succeed in the content?
Then you bring your best, and sometimes it's really, in a lot of groups, it's good to have a couple that are your best in case there's someone else in the group who only knows one thing and you need to bring something else to make the group more effective, if that makes sense. Like if we were going to run on Thursday and we had 3 sages, I would go get my guardian just for variety.
What about running those easier types of content? Should you really be trying to do your best there? Should you be playing effectively?
I mean, if you're trying to learn, then yeah, it's best to play effectively. If you don't give a fuck, I guess you can play whatever you want. All right, so sometimes it doesn't matter. Story mode or veteran content, it really doesn't matter what you play. But if you're trying to get better, if you're trying to be more effective, then bring something you want to learn. Always be willing to learn. You don't even always have to be at your best. Try to be competent, at least. Or like I said, unless you're okay with wiping all night and being a sandbag, and then play whatever the fuck you want.
I really think there's a minimum for every piece of content. For story mode content, the minimum is really, really, really low. Even especially for solo content, the minimum is pretty much non-existent. The minimum is hit the 1 key every once in a while. That would be good.
Be alive.
If you're going to like veteran mode flashpoints, there is a minimum that is a little more than hitting that 1 key, but to be honest, it's not that high. Maybe it's hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe sometimes 5. And I don't think it's going to matter too much what class you're doing that on, or even what type of gear you're wearing. In story mode operations, you might have to go up to 6 and 7. You know, there is a minimum level, but it's not huge. I think most players should be able to get by even on classes that they're not very proficient in. And it's only when you start getting into that harder content, the veteran mode operations, master mode operations, maybe even master mode flashpoints, where that minimum is a little more measurable. And that's where I think it starts getting a little harder, a little clearer when you're doing well and you're not doing well. But I think people get really cranky about how well you're doing in veteran mode flashpoints, like content that's not difficult. Have you seen that before?
I haven't done a lot of veteran flashpoints. I mean, people, you think I'm cranky. Whew. Girl, there's people way more cranky than me out there in Swator. Gee. Yeah, people get cranky because they just want everything to be over in 10 minutes, I think is why they get cranky. Or if people don't know, they get cranky. My biggest problem with the stuff that's easier is that they completely take out a lot of the mechanics that are in the harder modes, and I think it does people a big disservice. I think that they should leave those mechanics, but make it much less punishing if people don't do them. If there's a cleanse, put it. If people don't get it, maybe instead of it ticking, 6K a tick, let it tick like 500, like a little baby dot.
A lot of the operations are like that. I've been writing down little operation guides for myself, and I'll be in veteran mode typing up in this operation. This is an ability. As a healer, you must cleanse or your team's going to take a lot of damage. And I'll write a little note beside it saying, does this even exist in story mode? And a lot of the time the answer is actually yes. But our healers aren't playing super effectively. It usually doesn't get cleansed, and who cares? because it's story mode. They're still meeting the minimum, keeping everyone alive and stuff like that. Same for the DPS. Maybe they're not hitting these high achiever values, but they're still killing the boss.
Yeah, I think things like cleansing and interrupts should be a little more punishing in story mode. I thought that some of them just simply weren't there, but if you're telling me that they're there and they're just
Yeah, some are, but a lot are.
yeah, a lot are, some aren't. I think if they're there, that they could make them a little bit more punishing so that people can learn before they get into hard mode. And you get into hard mode and people are completely floored at the things you have to do. And I think it's because story mode is such a joke.
Yeah, veteran mode and master mode operations require that you play effectively, and even to some degree, many of the master mode flashpoint bosses, you must play effectively or your group is just not going to make it. Goodbye, adios. So Mal, I've got my character. They're a brand new, fresh level 70. I made a token. I don't even know what any of these abilities are. I have like item rating 206 gear from the box. Is it okay for me to jump into flashpoints at that point? Veteran mode flashpoints?
That's the first thing you've ever done in the game?
Yep. Well, maybe I've played like a level 10 Jedi before, but I made this brand new character. I don't know how to play them. I kind of know vaguely how flashpoints work, but I don't know how to play this class. Is it okay for me to jump in?
Kind of rude. Kind of rude. Especially if so you've played a level 10 Jedi Knight, that's it. And then you've made an instant 70 character. Kind of rude. You don't even know what all the abilities do.
But do you need them for a veteran mode flashpoint? Like, I'm under the opinion you can just kind of mow through no matter what. Because you can jump in a veteran mode flashpoint at like level 35 too, right?
Can you? I don't know.
Yeah, it's 15 to 75.
Oh yeah, you can. You can. Yeah. Is there a veteran mode anathema?
Yeah, there is some difficult ones.
Veteran mode, what's that one? Yeah, I mean, if you get Hammer Station, you're fine. If you get any of the other more difficult ones, kind of sucks.
You're not going to be having a fun time, yeah?
No.
Regardless of whether you should or shouldn't, you personally are probably not going to have as much fun.
They're probably only going to do that one time and then get kicked and then come bitching. Everyone's so mean to me. They kicked me out of my Flashpoint group because I'm new.
Well, yeah, that person probably doesn't know that they should be a little more experienced. They just saw Group Finder. Group Finder says 15 to 75, no problem. Group Finder doesn't even say 75 and vaguely competent.
Yeah, I think I don't know what they're going to do in the next patch, but I think that some of those veteran modes, they should separate out from some of the other ones. Because some of them are very easy and you don't really need anything special in your head to do them. But some of them are kind of challenging.
Yeah, we get Aethys coming up often in ours. We don't spam Hammer Station because I'll go crazy if I have to do that, even though that's one of the easiest ones. But we get Aethys a lot. That one's really cool, very thematic, but you don't really super need to know how to play. There's a couple tiny mechanics your team can tell you in like one sentence if they're nice, but combat-wise, you can just kind of pew-pew everything to death.
Feel the wrath of Vodal Kresh.
Thank you. He will take your bodies and your ship and your abilities and your levels and throw them in the garbage.
Oh, man.
So, is it okay if I jump in with my level 70 character I don't know how to play?
You can do whatever you want, but you will not play with me.
So that's a no, says Mal, and Mal really doesn't suggest it. So how is it kind of should you have to play effectively? No. Should you meet this minimum of competency of experience with your class? I think most players will say yes. There is some type of minimum before going into different types of content, especially with random players. If you're going in with your friends, they'll probably say, hey, you just booted up the game today? That's okay. I'll carry you to victory. It's fine. But that's not quite the same as a random person. I think part of the problem is that random person or people, their level of requirement is going to be a lot different depending on what they want to do and how much they're willing to carry you and explain things to you and being able to put up with any mishaps you have. And I'm not talking about, oh, I didn't know where I'm going, or oh, I didn't know the mechanics. More like, I only know 2 of my heals, even though I'm the healer for this flashpoint kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate if that were to happen. It's way easier to carry one DPS that doesn't know what's going on rather than a tank or a healer.
To be honest, I'm really, really chill. And when I'm queuing up, my objectives are not often to complete it. Like, I usually want to complete it, but I'm usually there for something else. Like, I don't mind if it takes 2 hours. I'm usually just kind of goofing off in the first place. And I don't mind sitting and talking to this person. As long as they're talking back, I don't care what their effectivity is. But if they're mouthing off or they're not replying at all and we're just dying over and over, their effectivity is -5 to me.
You
I'm
start
like,
typing you suck over and over again in chat. I've seen you.
oh my God. I know this is unrelated, but can I tell a Flashpoint story?
Tell me.
There was someone, we went into a random group Flashpoint. One person I knew just by chance, one person I didn't know, and the fourth person, they weren't really talking in chat, but I saw their name. Their name was Jay Callig, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, this is a Sith Inquisitor, and I looked at them, and they were a Sith warrior. So I was like jokingly, I was typing in all caps, like, Jay Callig, I am so disappointed in you. You are not a Sith Inquisitor. I'm so bad. So I start running into the Flash. I would hope someone with the name Callig would understand the joke. I'm praying that they understand. So I get into the Flashpoint, and this person accidentally walks into some mobs, and I'm like, oh no. So I go try and help them. We both die. And then they left the Flashpoint to Drome and Koss and never replied in chat when we were trying to ask them or lead them where to go or anything like that. So we vote kicked them. I don't know. I don't know what level of effectivity we're looking for, but they did not meet it.
Savage.
You have to get in the Flashpoint and stay there.
Savage.
It's required.
Savage. So, do you personally always strive to be your best?
Ha!
Or is it okay to coast along sometimes? Do you ever coast? Do you ever get a little help from your friends?
I feel like there's two very separate questions. Like, do you sometimes coast? Yes, when I am sometimes a telekinetic sage and I'm going into a story mode operation, I just boom telekinetics the heck out of everything and coast my way by. However, when we start going into that harder content, especially the kind of stuff we do together, I can't coast. It's either like I am mildly competent or I'm an absolute hot flailing mess and you guys are carrying me, and I'm striving. But I have attention issues, I got memory issues, I get distracted easily. All of it is not I don't know if that's called coasting if you're driving with your eyes closed. Does that count?
I'm not sure. But if anyone out there drives, you should not drive with your eyes closed. This
Cruise
is a
control.
PSA from the Starforge podcast.
So I guess I'm definitely not always striving to do my best, because then I would be 100% prepared every time. I would have fully researched my class for my specific issues. Maybe I would have printouts taped around my room so that I could remember my abilities, and maybe I'd have a bunch of notes for each individual operation and boss that we've done. Because when we run on our progression nights, Sayuri, our friend, is very competent. She is always running at 110% hot, and she's always giving me advice and stuff like that. Half the time I remember, half the time I don't, but I'm definitely not giving my 110% all the time. I don't know. It's too much for me. I don't want it to be a second job.
You're not coasting though. You're trying your best.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. All those other things would be trying my best.
I mean, you hadn't done Nightmare Bestia before, had you? Before the other night?
No, that was really fun, by the way. Anyone who's listening, we cleared Nightmare Mode Bestia, and I'm laughing so hard because people keep making fun of me for being a clicker, and then the next day, on Monday, I was like, oh yeah, I just clicked my way to victory on Nightmare Mode Bestia. First try, first night.
Yeah, that is a very hard fight. I was nervous about that one.
That was a lot of fun. But if I was really striving to do my 110%, I would have pre-researched the fight. I would have pre-researched and looked at my utilities. I don't even think I looked at my utilities. I'm really sorry. And I would have made sure I had everything pre-prepared, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but sometimes it's really better to learn by seeing it and doing it, because that's how you're going to remember. You can read about it, but until you've done it 50 times, forget it. At least for me, not going to remember it until I do it.
So wrapping things up, so should you play effectively in group content? It seems like a lot of it boils down to you should meet a minimum. That minimum's going to change with whoever you're playing with. And if you want to learn how to play better, you should actually be trying. I mean, if you're not feeling your best that day, don't worry about it. But if you want to get better, the only way you get better is by practicing, especially in group content where everything's not quite the same as going against a dummy.
That is true. Yeah, I don't usually coast. The only time I ever coasted was one time on a 16-man hard mode Revan, because I was in a group of really good people. I think Sierra was there. I was on my old computer. My frames were like passing by me one at a time, very slowly. Terrible. So I made it up to the 3rd floor, but I died, and then I just went and made some tea while I laid on the floor dead, came back. Woo, chivo. Easy peasy. Thanks, guys. See you later.
They didn't say get in my backpack. They said get in my funeral casket and carried you to victory. So I heard you did have an experience recently where someone else formed a group, but expected you to carry them all the way to the boss. How'd that go?
This weekend, you can't make this Sith up. World boss groups. In a recent trip to Nar Shaddaa, for some ungodly reason, a DPS, whose name has been withheld for yet another ungodly reason, joined a world boss group at 1:25 in the morning. The target world boss was battle droid R4GL. Upon joining, the leader announced that they had no ability to summon to the boss, nor did they know the way to the world boss's location. The time was now 1:35 a.m., and the tired DPS began making her way to the world boss location. Upon arrival around 1:40 a.m., there were 18 people in the group. Hooray! Summons incoming. No, she was told. The group is not yet full. What? How full did this group need to be for this boss that could be demolished in under 2 minutes? Finally, at 1:45 a.m., the leader announced, "Everyone gather in the same instance or you will not get the summons." What? After ready checking and waiting for 24 people to indicate that they were, in fact, ready, the boss finally died at 1:55 a.m. Perhaps this tired DPS just needed to have some patience with people. Perhaps she should learn to be less cranky. After all, the boss did die. Or, in this reporter's opinion, she should have alt F4'd and gone the to bed.
Oh, God. She should have just deleted that character and made a new one?
Ooh, that sounds like a good idea. Flying solo.
In this session of Flying Solo, we're going to be talking about creating your character and how we like to create ours. So, let's start off with, when do you create new characters, Mal?
These days, Saya, I mostly create them to troll people. How about you?
Not to troll people, I make them for real reasons. I've got goals to achieve here.
Do you? Didn't you tell me you had a character called like oregano or basil or something?
Oh, okay, those are goals, and I'll talk more about those later, but I want to hear first about you trolling people.
So, I don't know if anybody remembers in Saya's Thursday group, there is someone called Tierlo, and he brought this Nautilon with him who was shirtless and shoeless, and people in the chat went bananas for him and called him Hunky Fishman.
Hunky Fishman!
Oh, Tierlo, I miss him. So he left for real life reasons, so I actually created a Nautilon called Bodacious Fish Lady in his honor. And one day he'll come back and I'm going to bring that in a raid with him.
So you created this character just on the off chance that our friend returns to raiding, but she is all ready to go, all ready to raid, all ready to troll?
Yeah.
Are you serious? This is supposed to be like a serious conversation about creating characters, and this is what you've got me?
All right, then I'm not going to tell you about Side Dude because Bam's tank is called Side Chick.
So you made another character to match Side Chick?
Yeah, Side Dude. And he's like this big, tall, blonde Adonis beefcake that most people seem to like. I don't, but, you know, he's a stereotype, so there you go.
Well, there was an event a little while back that is retired now, but it encouraged us to make a lot of characters. Tell me that you took the chance to make some serious characters during the Dark versus Light event.
I definitely fucking did it, and you know it. But I did take a lot of care with these characters. I actually, for all of the classes, I made clones of all of my friends, but I made them evil. So I have evil Mal, evil Fender, evil Vaz, evil Bam, evil Elros, and I actually got them to give me their character stats, like what number was selected for the faces and
An exact replica.
an exact replica, just with an evil black mustache and facial hair for the characters that can have that. Everyone else just gets dark black hair and evil red eyes. Okay, enough about my trolling though, Scya. I take this. I'm gonna watch on Thursday. I'm gonna bring evil villain Bam to our raid on Thursday. You're gonna laugh.
I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to feel like such a square. My main reason to create new characters is I've got a goal to achieve. I know lots of people just kind of create them on a whim, like, ooh, I think I'm going to go create a Jedi Knight today. But I almost always have a really strong reason and usually multiple goals that I want to achieve on that character. So, for example, during the Dark versus Light event, I also made a lot of characters. I had an achievement on Steam that I had missed with my Sith Inquisitor the first time, so now I've made a second Sith Inquisitor. There was some low-level armor I wanted to go collect, so I needed to make some fresh characters, including Basil Oregano, my bounty hunter. I don't always take it seriously in terms of naming and stuff like that, but these characters all have a reason. They're never made on a whim. I know sometimes you do create characters for convenience. What's that like?
Yeah, I have a couple just because to me, respecking and doing my bar is such a pain in the ass that I have a sage for healing, a sage for TK, and a sage for balance. Stuff like that. I have a guardian I tank on, but I have a separate guardian that I do DPS on. Just lazy.
I play less at a higher level than you do, but I actually had the same kind of idea. I'm guessing with the Legacy of the Sith expansion, this may be less of a thing, but I decided to create 48 characters over time, one of each combat proficiency, so one of each of the 3 trees for each advanced class. It's actually been a lot of fun. A lot of these characters are really mixed matched. Some of them are serious, some of them are playful, and we'll talk a little more about that. But before we do, when you're creating a character, do you go really heavy on how they look and how you name them?
The trolling stuff aside, I do because I don't really have that many. Like, forget the ones to troll people. Honestly, that's only like 7 or 8. The ones that are in my core legacy, those I did take a lot of care with their names, what they look like, what they're wearing, etc.
Did you have an idea in your mind what you wanted a character to look like beforehand for your core legacy, or did you just go into Character Creator and see what looks good?
Well, for my very first one I ever created, I had seen Swtorista in the beta, but not live, so it was all very fresh and very new. But yes, I knew what she wanted to look like because mostly my main character looks like me. So me and Swtorista, the best I could do with no curly hair options. And then it sort of went from there. I had a couple other characters already in my head from other games I had played before. So for the most part, I did know what they were going to look like, at least the first couple. And then after that, it was just ideas that came to me from playing the game. Like I knew I wanted to do a Twi'lek gunslinger. I knew that I wanted to have a Chiss bounty hunter.
That's super cool. I had a similar experience for my first couple of characters. Like, I had a very strong idea of what I wanted to create even before the game first came out. I was like, I'm going to make a trooper. She's going to be real big, and she's going to have white hair, and she's going to be all strong and buff and, can carry the big old gun and backpack and all that with no problem. Because I'm tiny in real life. I would just fall over if I have to carry all this trooper gear. But for a lot of my other characters, I didn't go in with any kind of idea. I don't think I ever had that kind of concept of, yes, I should make a gunslinger Twi'lek. That would be super cool. I usually have that goal and then I try and go figure out a species or a look that might go well with that. And kind of in the idea of fulfilling multiple goals, one of my other goals was I want a variety of species and a variety of characters. So I try and make one of each species, one of each gender for the male and female voice actors. If I do make some of the same class multiple times, they all have to look different. Nobody's allowed to look anywhere close to the same in terms of colors or patterns and stuff like that. What about names? Apart from your trolling characters, do your characters of your core legacy have real names?
Uh, some of them, yeah, have very real sounding names. My characters are also very old. So it was a lot easier way back in the day to have
Yes.
characters that actually sound like names. So yeah, I have Drea, I have Milena, Moriah, Selene, Kirwin, stuff like that. Mostly it's all just one name. I don't really do the apostrophe thing or the space thing. I never had to. So,
Right, we never even had the option with the spaces back in the day. These days, you can give your character a first name and a last name, so it's a lot easier to give them a unique name of your choice. So for a lot of my characters, I have kind of similar names as you do, like names that I got way back when they were first available. So I've got my main characters named Scya, I've got Solst, I've got Cimarron, I've got Dama, and all of those were like actual character names. But Mal, after that, I like gave up. As I was like,
Aw.
I have all these weird goals that I need to achieve right now, and I need to make all these 48 characters. So I've got some characters that are less than stellar. When people see them, they make fun of me. I've got one named Calyx Lightsaber. I've got Sage Heal. I've got Sorcerer Heals. I've got GTN Please. I've got Disconnect. Oh, and here's the most unique ones I picked so far. Swtorista. And then my second character on that server is named Swtorista Tank.
And you say you don't make characters to troll.
Okay,
And
no,
you got Sage Heals and GTN, please.
I play these characters, okay? Sage Heal is my healer. Sorcerer Heal is my healer. I have brung those Nautilins into veteran mode, thank you very much. And GTN, please.
Brought those ugly Nautilons.
I've got a note in here that says shut your mouth about the Nautilins or I'll punch you in the face.
Oh, that's why I said that. I'm just saying they don't look like the NPCs do, and it was kind of disappointing. Their heads look crazy.
They do. They look a little bit like an overinflated football, okay? But we don't need to make fun of them. It's fine.
I'm not making fun of them. I'm just saying they could have done a better job with the Nautilon heads. It's kind of awful.
Meanwhile, I've got like 5 Nautilins and a Nautilin cult. And then I've also got a lot of character names that look like kind of like they're trolling names, but they're actually really dear to me. They're kind of like code names or nicknames that they've gotten through their professions. My main assassin, my main Imperial character, is actually named Eavesdrop. I was very lucky, got the name. I've also got a Jedi Knight. I don't know how I got it. I think something happened to the original owner. I think someone killed them and deleted their characters. And I got the name Sun, Sun, for my Jedi Knight. And that's also like super, super dear to me. I've got the characters Flagship and Disconnect. And both of those are also kind of their code names, a smuggler and a bounty hunter. So we've got names, we've got the way they look, kind of cosmetic things, but when you're creating your character, apart from your troll characters, do you have a story or imagine what they're like beforehand?
Oh, yeah, for the core legacy characters, absolutely. Absolutely, at least for the first couple. As you play a lot of games, and I played a lot of BioWare games before I played SWTOR, so you kind of have already these characters in your head from prior games. So I already know, Drea, that's my main. I decided I was going to make her an assassin, an Inquisitor assassin, because I thought that was so cool. But then, other ones you have, okay, so Moriah, she's always my blood mage. If you've ever played Dragon Age, she's my crazy blood mage who kills everything. Okay, she's going to be my Sith warrior. And then as you get to kind of know all the other stories, you know where what you have in your head is going to fit in the SWTOR universe. And it was really fun. After the core legacy, I kind of checked out at the story after vanilla a little bit. but that's me. Other people, they really enjoy it all the way through on multiple characters, and they get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So, how about you? How about you, Saya?
I've got a really weird mix. So, like you, my very first characters are very, very strong roleplay. I didn't port them over from other games. I've never really done that. I create them fresh for the existing environment kind of thing. They're Star Wars characters. They were never from any other universe. But after that, trying to make 48 characters, I don't think I have the stamina to create like an interlocking, intensive roleplay, non-restrictive creation there. I can't do that. A lot of my characters have literally no story at all. They're just a trooper or a Sith, and most of those are the ones that I created just to try out those different combat proficiencies, those different disciplines. But I've got a lot of in between characters for the characters that I'm actually playing the story with, even if it's my second or third time for that class story. I always have some type of characteristics for them. For example, my Sith Inquisitor, my current one, is actually my oldest one is just bloodthirsty, kills everything. She's like your blood mage, very stereotypical Sith murderer. But my current one, I'm playing her as conniving, dark-sided, but not murderous. She just wants to get ahead. And then my Jedi Knight male character is noble, a beacon of order and light. Even though neither of them have actual backstories, it helps a lot, and I find it makes it a lot more fun to play the stories when making story decisions. So when you're creating your character, you are kind of limited to what the game actually gives you in terms of the way your character looks. So are you happy with the species and the colors and the options available? And second question, do you have any characters that you imagine the way they look that doesn't match up with what's actually available in game?
Yes, I long for curly hair in
Oh,
any
you
game, but
especially.
it was nice when it started. Oh, you feel like you have a lot of options, but it's been 10 years, and after 10 years, I find a lot of the colors and the options for many of the species to be really lackluster and tired at this point, and some of it doesn't even make sense. Like, why can't human hair go on all the chiss? It's just very bizarre. I don't know why you would lock that away from people.
The why? The why is because however they set up the character creator when they were first making the game means they had to do every single hair or whatever individually, each time for each body type, for each species, times a billion. Pros
Yeah.
of working in 2008, I
A
guess.
and some of the species a lot of people really like. Some of them are nice, some of them are not for me. I don't have any Sith purebloods. I don't have any Ratataki. Sometimes I've sat down and tried to make it, and once I go through all the options, I've just gone, nothing's really coming to me. This is not for me.
I always had trouble making a ratataki. There's just something about the combination of being bald plus also being so incredibly devoid of any color at all. Like they're scary. They're really pale. Like they almost look like something that lives under the bed. They kind of scare me. And I had trouble making a Miraluka. I really like being able to see my character's eyes in cutscenes. It makes them so much prettier. And I just couldn't get over that and actually make a Miraluka till recently. That's my conniving Sith Inquisitor. She don't need eyes to see you.
Oh, side dude is actually a Miraluka. He's wearing like he's got this sexy eye patch on. He doesn't need to see you to give you a good time.
Do you have any characters that you imagine in your head differently than in game? Because I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, my character has this extra tattoo or my character has this extra scar, and that option doesn't exist.
I never really thought about it because I'm so used to looking at what I have, and I don't really make new ones that often. I'm just so used to looking at what I've already got. I never really thought about if they could have something different.
I really love seeing like fan art, especially of some of the alien colorful species. Like I've seen some really crazy like patterns and drawings and colors of like Twi'leks and Nautilans and stuff like that. Like, can you imagine like a sparkly star galaxy on a Twi'leks Leku or something like that? I'm like, oh, I want that. It's not canon. Definitely wouldn't happen in game, but I love seeing these super super unique characters, or like they'll have piercings or they'll have like a special tattoo. I've never actually made a character like that. Maybe I will one day. It's probably because I don't draw. It would be so much effort for me to figure that kind of thing out. I should just like loan out my characters and be like, "Can you make this character cooler for me?"
Every character I make that is supposed to be me always got a tattoo, always has scars. It's just, I don't know.
It makes them cooler. Yeah, that's how it
Mhm.
works.
Yeah. Like she's seen some battle.
We're really hoping that in the Legacy of the Sith expansion, we'll see some more. There's kind of been hints that maybe there will be some more. We don't know how much more. We talked about hairs in a previous episode. We're showing up, and the character creator just got a refresh on the test server. It's in progress, kind of not quite finished yet. Maybe we'll have. I'm just like imagining in my mind. Yes, we'll have 6,000 more colors of Twi'leks. It's totally gonna happen, and I'm gonna be really, really disappointed. I think.
Well, we'll have to see. I think for now, though, I want you to tell me the news. I want you to tell me what's coming up. You heard it here last. All right. So for the news this week, we're not going to talk about 7.0 because if I read one more thing about 7.0, my mind is going to explode and I'm just going to uninstall the game, throw my computer out the window, and burn my house down so I can't play anymore. Just assume it's all going to be awful and terrible and will suck.
There's some cool stuff. I have had to read every single paragraph and agonize over every single detail for all the fan site stuff, but I'm tired of talking about it. Every time we record a podcast, like a huge new batch of info comes out, so I think we're good. There's tons of cool stuff out there. You can check it out in the dev tracker. You can check it out on my YouTube channel. You can check it out on Twitter. You can check it on Reddit. We're not going to talk about it here. We're done. But you know what you can do? There's a few events going on right now that you can go check out in the current live game. The Rackle event is currently running November 16th to November 23rd, and that's for levels 25 and up. It's a fun limited time event with, Rackles that you can go join. And the Relics of the Gree event will be coming up November 30th to December 7th later in the month, and that's for level 50 and up.
Wow. What simple times. Soon to be gone. I told you my guess for the patch was December 14th, right?
Yep.
Okay. What was your guess?
I'm going for December 20th. I don't know if it's a good guess, but I want it to be on the anniversary of the game.
Oh, yeah, that is sweet. It could be. It could be. We'll have to see. Did everybody else guess?
Yeah, there's a ton of guesses in there. There's a lot of guesses. I'm real excited to read out who gets the bragging rights.
All right, I guess we'll see soon. So, it's been a great show. I've enjoyed my time with you, Scya.
Happy 10th anniversary.
Sorcerer Heels.
Sage Heels. Are you going to make it evil Scya?
What a great idea.
I'm scared.
Yeah, you'll have to give me all your info.
As long as you don't give me a mustache. That's the end of our show, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the Starforge podcast.
Happy 10th episode. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. You've been listening to the Starforge podcast with Scya and Mal. We know you have your choice of podcasts, and you chose the right one. For show notes and other information, visit starforgepodcast.com and hit us up on Twitter at StarforgeCast. We'd love to hear from you. Listen in with Google or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or on Swtorista's YouTube channel. New episodes drop every Friday, so mark your calendar and come join the party. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
That's cool.
Thanks, Mal.
I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I was going to ask you something else and I lost it. Oh.
I'll just ask
Check
you about
my
the next part.
Whatever. I'm just happy that I got you to tell me to shut my mouth about the Nautilon because I saw that note and I just about died.